Hello everybody, welcome back to the Clintonville Slasher. I am your host, Serge Frank Wilkes. It's Friday, let's get this party started. So, today I'm actually going to be doing a rundown of two films. Hang on one second. Maybe that's better. Sorry. So actually I'm going to be doing a rundown of two films, and so these films kind of go together. They do go together because they're sequels, and then I got a little story to tell about the first one. So I'm going to be talking about an awesome classic, and that is The Shining from 1980. Now, it was directed by Stanley Kubrick. It stars Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall. A little rundown of the film, if you've never seen it, is that it takes place. There's a guy named Jack Torrance, and he's like a struggling author, and he decides to take a job, and this job is to be an innkeeper at the Overlook Hotel in the high mountains of Colorado. And when he does this, he has to be the innkeeper. He's going to be the only one there through the winter. He's basically there just to make sure the pipes don't freeze and the place, it isn't in shambles when they open it up in the spring. So he takes the job, and during the interview, which is like one of the most iconic scenes, the guy who giving the interview to Jack Torrance is telling him about an incident at, like a year prior, of a man that took the job that he's about to take, and he actually ended up going crazy. So he takes the job. He goes to the Overlook Hotel with his wife and his son. His wife is Shelley Duvall, and her name is Wendy Torrance, and their son Danny Torrance. So what they don't understand is when they go there, that this place is plagued by ghosts. Now, what other things they don't understand is that their son has a telekinesis power, and one of the people that work at the Overlook Hotel actually calls him Doc and can talk to him through his mind. They call it the Shine. And then it's this slow build up to where Jack is plagued by ghosts. He goes insane. So that's a little rundown of the film. What I got from this is I actually read the book of The Shining a long time ago. It's one of the very first Stephen King books I've ever read. So what I got from it, this is a psychological thriller. However, it doesn't really specify about the Shine, and which is weird because this whole story is called The Shining. So it's a really good psychological thriller. Jack Nicholson, is made for this role. It's perfect. Even when, if you read the book, the way Jack Torrance is in the book, Jack Nicholson murdered that role. I mean, he is absolutely. It's just an awesome depiction of what Jack Torrance was from paper to screen. Now, when they decided to, I believe it was Warner Brothers that decided to make the movie The Shining, they asked Stephen King to write a screenplay. Well, they had somebody else in mind to write the screenplay as well, and that's Stanley Kubrick. Now, Stanley Kubrick actually obviously won, and I believe it was because of his work for Clockwork Orange, and they didn't really like, Stephen King's version of it. But Stephen King really actually based more of it about the book. He tried to dumb it down. Now, I understand why Stephen King probably doesn't like it. It doesn't specify about Danny, but then again, there's a lot of things that are left out of the book that were purposely left out of the movie that was left out of the book. So the thing is it's more depictive, what The Shine is, more about Danny, and that's not really how it goes into the movie. It's still a really good movie. It's still a really fun film to watch, and really just absolutely insanity. So I understand though, because it's really hard to turn over a 1,000-page book into a movie, maybe like a 4-hour movie. So what the thing is I totally get where Stephen King's coming from, but there's a lot of stories that Stephen King did when it transfers from book to movies. Like for instance, if you took the 1990 version of It, they did a mini series, but they left a ton out of the book. But Andy Muschietti, when he did the It Chapter 1 and 2 series, he incorporated a lot of the book into the films, and they say that it translates really well. Another example of that is let's take my favorite Stephen King story ever, is Misery. I've done a review on Misery 100 times, but that book and that movie are so good side by side that it's hard to tell which one is better, because the ending, If you take the book ending and put it to the movie feels cheap. But if you take the ending of the film and put it towards the book, then the book doesn't pop. The ending of the book is absolutely just crazy, but the movie is so good. So Jerry Bruckheimer, when he did that film, he studied the book really well, but he put his own twist to it. And Stephen King's even said that The Misery is like one of my favorites. And I understand, because when Andy Wilkes transfers from paper to film, like in the book, when I read that book before I saw the movie, like when I read that book and like tried to think about what Andy Wilkes would look like, she would look like a Hagar or a crone. But in the story, in the visual story, like Kathy Bates, that she does such a great job. So that's just one example of why like Stephen King's books don't transfer to film very well in some cases. So that's sorry for the sidetrack, but I get Stephen King is like one of my heroes. So when somebody does a movie and they do it right by Stephen King, it makes me very, very happy. So when I saw this film, The Shining, for the first time when I was about 12 years old, I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I live about an hour away from government camp. So my dad is watching it with me, and I don't think he'd ever seen it before at this point. And he was like, he watches it, and then the iconic scene of them, the Torrance family driving up to the Overlook Hotel. He kind of chuckles at me. He's like, "Matt, enjoy your movie," and he goes to bed. The next morning, he wakes me up real early, and he starts driving me somewhere, and he's like, he wouldn't tell me where we're going, and we start doing the same travel, and I'm like, where the hell are we going? And he finally takes me to Timberline Lodge. Now, Timberline Lodge is the Overlook Hotel from the outside. The inside was a different hotel, but that is in Government Camp, Oregon. Totally looks different from the inside to the outside, but it's actually like that. That's a really iconic look. So every time I see the Overlook Hotel, I think of Timberline Lodge. It's a ski resort in Government Camp, Oregon. It's a really nice place. Like the inside of it is absolutely beautiful. If you guys ever get a chance to like Google it, it's breathtaking. But during that time, my dad took me up there. It was Halloween. It was October time, so they had the maze open, and they had some of the staff dressed up like Jack Torrance is chasing people through the maze. So it was a lot of fun. So if you guys ever get a chance to go to Oregon, go visit Timberline Lodge. It's absolutely beautiful. So the next film I'm going to be talking about is actually the sequel, and that's Dr. Sleep. It was released in 2019 and it was directed by Mike Flanagan. Now, a little rundown of this film is that Danny Torrance has grown up, played by Ewan McGregor, and he's grown up. He's kind of like distanced himself. He's tried to like really suppress his shine abilities. But there's this group of people out there. They're basically like soul-sucking vampires, and they're led by this lady called Rose the Hat, and they're looking for other people that can shine, and they suck their life force out of them, and they live long time. Rose the Hat has to be the most evil villain I ever saw that Stephen King ever came up with. Now, if you were to ask me, like, what is the best directed horror film ever, I'm gonna have to say this one. This is like Mike Flanagan did so much justice to this movie. I'll call like a couple of scenes if you've never seen it, but like the baseball kid, like that scene itself is so fucking hard to watch. I cried like a baby the first time I watched it. Every time I see it, I almost have to skip through it just because it's so horrific. It's so horrible, especially being a parent. If you know what I'm talking about, it's bad. That kid deserves an Oscar. And like some of the actor comment, if you're gonna buy or watch Dr. Sleep, you really need to get the actor or the director commentary of what, like the behind the scenes when they did the baseball kid scene, and like how they couldn't have the actors and all together. They had to do it like separately because they were just crying their eyes out because he was doing such a great job. So like what's really cool about this movie is that Danny Torrance grows up, and there's this girl named Abra, and she can shine really well. I mean, she can pull people into their dreams, and Rose the Hat finds her, and she's like, I have to have her, I have to suck her life force out of her, and she goes to Danny Torrance and asks for help. And the showdown at the end of this movie is so good. The final showdown between Rose the Hat and Danny Torrance in the Overlook Hotel and the shambles of Overlook Hotel is absolutely awesome. It works. Ewan McGregor, like this story works because it's years later. Danny is plagued by all the ghosts that were all haunted him, you know, and he's just suppressed his abilities so much, and it's so good. The ending of this movie is absolutely just awesome. So if you guys have never seen Doctor Sleep or The Shining, I highly recommend those films. Now, I've actually never read the book of Doctor Sleep, but I've heard really good things. I really like to research Stephen King's stories before I watch his movies. I've been doing that ever since I saw Pet Sematary, the movie, and then I read the book, and the book is so scary. So yeah, I am a massive Stephen King fan. So yeah, I highly recommend his books. I highly recommend these two films. These are just fan favorites. So if you guys, that is going to do it for me and my ranting and rambling. But I hope you guys all have an awesome Friday. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Drop in the comment section what you guys are up to. I have band practice this weekend. I'm probably going to watch a couple of horror films for Monday. But I hope you guys are all having an awesome weekend. Stay horror. If you're new to the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And until next time, I'm Lurch Frank Wilkes. Stay horror. Be excellent to each other. We'll see you later. Later days.